Well, folks, I am here at the Robin Hood in Union along the creek. You might be able to hear it in the background. And I'm sitting with an old radio friend of mine, Robert Poole. How are you?
I'm somewhere in the middle, Middle Ages actually, here in
Sure.
the Robin Hood village. I feel like I'm at home here.
You have a lot of history and background here at the Robin Hood. You also have a lot of history and background with KMAS radio.
Yep.
We had worked together for a long time on the Songwriter Stage we'll get into shortly. But
Okay.
tell folks who know you or know of you or have heard of you, give me kind of the background. You've played with a bunch of bands and eventually you've found yourself back here in the Hood Canal.
Right. Well, it all goes back to when I was 14 or so. My cousin played guitar, and he was like 7 years older than me, and he was into Buddy Holly and Elvis and all that. And he drove the cool car, and had the Ford with the Olds taillights, and he's back with the chicks on the roller skates and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
drive-ins and all that. So it was like I got he's kind of a James Dean Elvis.
Kind of like you look up to this guy.
Yeah, and I
'cause
looked
it's your
up to
brother.
him. Yeah, and he had the collar up and the sideburns, and anyway, he was like I say, a James Dean Elvis kind of guy. And he taught me the three chords, for playing rock and roll, and then I got really into the guitar and everything. And eventually, I had a band when I was 16, and we played Tacoma. The band was called the Centrics, and we were all dressed like the Beatles. And I had the long hair and the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we played the teenage nightclub, a teenage nightclub in Tacoma called the Gaslight. And so the Centrics at the Gaslight. Now, there was another band called the Sonics, which were a major, and they played there too,
Okay.
what I understand. And so we were all in about it was right around when the Beatles came to the States. We're playing this, and it looked like, when you played there, it looked like American Bandstand. All the kids dancing.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
we were rocking and rolling, and we were wild, and it was great.
What was the what was the crowd reaction like?
They loved it. They were just ate it up. They're all out dancing, having a great time.
Do you remember any of the names of the songs?
Well, I remember we played a lot of instrumental songs.
Okay.
And I had actually written a couple songs. It might have been right after we played there or before. I can't remember, but. We might have done the Kinks. We probably were more into the Louie Louie.
Sure.
So the Louie Louie in summertime, Louie Louie, and then the instrumentals like Green Onions.
Yeah, Booker T.
Yeah, Booker T. And I think we laid down when we played summertime. And that same band, we used to play out at the War Memorial in Puyallup and pack that out. And then sometimes we had a bass player and a sax player that would come in.
Oh,
and
fun.
I remember the sax player, when he'd start Louie Louie, I pour water down his sax. He'd blow it out on the crowd. So that's really good for a sax.
Sure, yeah.
Helps him grow. So, yeah, that was the teenage years. And then, after that, I was kind of out of music after that for a while. Oh, and actually, to interject, we did do a show called Rock-A-Go-Go, which was produced by Randy Veers, who was a name artist. He was a name drummer. I think he might have played in the Marvels and a bunch of other early '60s bands,
Mm-hmm.
but name bands. And he became kind of like our manager in a way. So he started this show on Channel 13 in Tacoma called Rock-A-Go-Go. So we were like the house guys.
Oh, fun.
Rock-A-Go-Go. And they would go, we're ready. We just went through and got the sound. No, we're done. We got it. So the sound check basically was the show.
Yeah.
But who cares? We're doing our stuff on TV.
That's cool.
And then we did a commercial where just Ken and I, my guitar player and I, it was a band, but just him and I did a commercial. And the commercial was, for Songwriter Stage. Excuse me, it's not Songwriter Stage, but it was for Rock-A-Go-Go. And people would, call in or whatever they do, but then this lady by the name of Bonnie Guitar, she was like a prominent artist out of Dot Records. I think she was one of the producers of Dot Records, which is a big record company. And she wanted to work with us. So she kind of said, come on out. She had a country place in Ording. So we'd drive out to Ording and practice, and I was writing, and she kept saying, sing higher, get your falsetto going, and all that stuff. And I was like, well, this is all cool. And her daughter and I were, I liked her daughter. She was a little younger than me, but we'd eat all her mom's tangerines, and, it was great. But we'd be out in the studio room, performing and trying, and then it was like, Bonnie, when are you taking us to Hollywood,
Right.
Come on. You're 16. It's like, let's get the show on the road. Well, it just never, it was like, we're still waiting. So instead, she took her daughter to Hollywood, got a band and everything, and her daughter ended up under the name of Alexis, and she had a song called Freedom's Child, and she opened for the Yardbirds and the Beach Boys at the Coliseum.
Wow. Big time.
Big time. I had, prior to that, I think that was 66, and then I was 64, 65. Anyway, they had the Summer Spectacular of 65, KJR Summer Spectacular, with the Kinks and Ian Whitcomb, the Sonics, Jan and Dean, and the Righteous Brothers, all kinds of bands.
Big show.
Big show. And then the night before that at the UPS Fieldhouse, the Kinks were going to do a show. Well, the Kinks were our rock gods, and I wanted to meet them. So we went in the daytime, we went to the UPS Fieldhouse, and the truck was there, the U-Haul truck or whatever it was, and the gate was open, and my buddy, it was my guitar player, me, and then our buddy, who was kind of like our manager, but he really wasn't. He was just a friend that helped us load shit. Sorry about the word.
Yeah, it's fine.
Anyway, so he walks up to us and says, "Look what I got," and he had the Kinks coats, the velvet Charles Dickens coats over his shoulder, and so I grabbed something off the truck, and we walked by. There was just one guy, one security. Nobody was there.
Right.
One security guy standing there, and I walked by and went, "Hey, fake English accent as best as I could do." Walked in. We walked in and stayed in there. Then the Kinks came, and it was like, holy God, they got clothes on that we can't get. His shoes, I could never get.
Sure.
Anything like that. It's like Dave Davies is like, wow. So we watched the show. Well, Sam, their manager, said, "Oh, you stay for the show and everything." I mean, we didn't kick us out. They welcomed us.
Wow.
Stay with the show, and the big fat guy, Sam, the Hawaiian shirt and the straw hat and everything. Yeah. So we watched the show with my elbows on the stage.
You're legends right there.
And
you're heroes.
Here we go. The solo dude really got me on his knees, skidding across the stage, and we're just going, I can't believe we're doing this. Is like, here we are. So they said, you got to come to the Coliseum, tomorrow night. It was like, oh, well, cool. So we had a gig that day up by Federal Way. We did the gig, jumped back in this 56 Mercury or whatever it was, went to the Coliseum. Well, instead of parking up in Seattle, trying to find a parking place and walk over to the no, the gates were open. We drive right in. It's like
we're with the band.
We're with the band, and all these people are up at the windows of the Coliseum, all these kids, and they turn around, Kinks, and they storm the car. And the roof was literally going like this.
Wow.
It was scary. And I said, well, so this is what the Beatles do.
Yeah.
And I got out of the car, and had somebody on my hair, my coat was coming off and everything. I just barely made it in. And I don't know, my buddy, I guess, made it in too. Get inside, oh, thank you. And he says, yeah, how was the plane flight? I said, what plane flight? Good one. And he walks away. Everybody thought we were the Kinks. You could not tell them any
Well, they
different.
should have hired you to be their advance team, so
It
they
would have
go
been
take
great.
care of all that every time.
So, I saw Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. I went up and told him, hey, Sam the Sham and the fellas. He said, no, Pharaohs. I said, no, fellas. See you guys. And I think we used Jan and Dean as a decoy to get out of there because we had to go. We went over to the Edgewater, I believe. Jerry Rosalie from the Sonics and I are walking together, going over there. I had to get. He was older than me, and I had to get him in there. I'm 16, and they know. Well, there might be some drinking in here and everything. It's like I'm 16, and this guy's almost 21, and he played in the show, and I had to get him in there.
Wow.
And we almost got busted with Ian Whitcomb because he was, getting mad at somebody. And oh my God! So it was like, I didn't get any glass slippers, but basically this was like unbelievable.
This was it.
So that established a relationship with the Kinks over the years, and I had stayed in touch for a long time. We used to go. My wife and I used to go to the Hilton and wait for him to come, and we get our stage passes or whatever we got.
Oh, that's
go
wonderful.
to the shows. So then the next step was to find Roger McGuinn of the Byrds, and then I went to L.A. and I chased him down, and I ended up going to his house and, sitting at his round table, and he called up a radio station that a bunch of Byrd songs played and stuff. And he wore the little glasses. I went in the bathroom, and sure enough, there's those little Ben Frank glasses like hanging by the mirror. It was like, wow, I'm in McGuinn's place.
This is amazing.
So they were also my, I used to go to the Ash Grove where they played, on the weekends or whatever, and I go hang out, And I remember him saying, "You're gonna remember me when you're a millionaire,"
To you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never did, but Petty did.
You still remember him, though?
Oh, yeah. We had a dinner in Seattle that was hilarious one time. He thought it was one of the Beach Boys when I called him up. And he said, "Oh, no, it's you." And I said, "Well, let's go eat something." So
That's amazing.
we went and ate something. So we had a competition trip eating where, well, are you a vegetarian or do you smoke or do you drink? It was that kind of a competition. It was hilarious. Oh, I wish I could have had that videotaped.
That's fun.
It was, the whole competition. Then he pulls out $100. He said, "Money's not where it's at." He pulls out $100 bill to pay for the dinner. But yeah, and I picked him up in a black limo at the Paramount one time to fulfill 8 Miles High, the 8 Miles. It was a lot of psychedelics, things going on.
So eventually, how do you find yourself down here?
Now?
No, just...
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, down here. Okay. Well, originally I'm from the area. I'm from the other side. We're from Vaughan, Key Center area over there. We had a beach place. But when I was a kid, I think I ate at the Robin Hood.
Okay, yeah.
On our way up to Hama Hama with a place called Hidden Cove where they had cottages and a big rock, and it was really beautiful, beautiful place. So I was turned on to Hood Canal at a young age, and I always loved this place here, and it just, trying to remember exactly how it happened. I had a place in Vaughan. I inherited the place there. I got rid of that. I had a place at Lake Cushman, and I think I was in limbo kind of, and I came down here and I did little. Darren, the guy, he bought it. Darren Berry, that was his name. Anyway, he bought it, and he had his brother-in-law run it, Ned, people knew Ned in the area. And those guys were, doing their thing. And so they just wanted me to come and play at the big number 4 over there. One night. So I went over there and played.
So this was 2000s?
I don't know. I don't even remember.
I'm just trying to think of when we first met.
Yeah, this was prior to that, to any radio show or any of that. I had been in a band called the Shut-Ins with Gil Leggett and Howard Leggett and, Paul and I don't know, whoever else, But we played all around the area and stuff. We were just like a garage band, of all different, decades.
So you've seen a lot of performers come through the Union.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, totally. But to get back to that, I played that night there, and then I ended up, well, you guys need any, like Darren was, well, do you wash windows? Do you do anything? Or, I said, well, I come down and do something, I didn't let on I was a carpenter at all. I just wanted, a couple days work or something, pick up a little extra cash.
Sure.
Because I just sold, I think, that cabin up at Cushman, which was a mistake. But anyway, so then somehow I just got more and more into it. I ended up living here, working here, and putting my whole life's blood into this place because I loved the place. And then I started the music. I was already with the Shut-Ins at the time. That kind of broke up. We'd done gigs at the Robin Hood. And I knew a lot of other bands and stuff. And then I ended up with the open mics, an open mic at the Robin Hood. Then Carrie wanted to do at the deli, wanted to do music. So then I ended up starting the music there. Then the Alderbrook, well, they liked to. Then I ended up starting the music there.
So you were working almost every night.
Yeah, and then it was like, God, I'd really love to do a radio show about songwriters. And that's...
Because that's kind of, that kind of is the whole open mic deal. Mm-hmm. You don't get a lot of folks necessarily coming in and playing cover songs for their allotted time.
Right.
It's their
Their
songs.
thing. Yes, their song. So when I got into the Robin Hood, it became a very successful open mic because the place speaks for itself. People would sit outside here by the fire and wait to play, and by the creek, and it would just pack out. And but I didn't want to have it just an open mic because I didn't want to have it semi-professional or below that. I wanted to have it a little more professional level. So I would have a name act. I'm not a name act, but a name act in the area.
Right.
Or somebody that was a pro do the hour. So I had all these different people that I start booking to do the hour because I ended up knowing a lot of people, and then I ended up knowing more people after I got the Songwriter Stage together. I was like the Bill Graham of the area. It was unreal.
So then you somehow meet Dale and Jerry.
Yes.
And talk about his past with obviously radio and music in Seattle, and you guys kind of sat over a pop one night and talked about you could do this.
What it basically is, I met him at the deli.
Yeah.
And we sat in there, and it was like, Dale, I want to do a radio show. And he said, oh, okay. Yeah, well, it's going to cost us, And
Sure.
we went over that, and it was like, holy. Yeah, anyway, it was like, okay, now I got to go get sponsors. So I'm running around the area trying to find people that will support it.
Right.
And I was able to do that for a while.
So,
but then I couldn't.
Early on, this probably, we'll just say 2010, just for safety's sake. That this was one of the first times that you and I met at the radio station.
Right.
And at that time, compared to how technology is 15 years later, it was a wildly different thing. We would have, we were in a 10 by 10 room, with you, me, the band, and their CD.
Exactly.
They wouldn't necessarily play.
No. Oh, sometimes they do a little acoustic thing in the room, like with a couple guitars or something like that.
But otherwise, it'd be like, let's cue up this song on your album and tell us about it.
Exactly. And that was cool.
Yeah.
And then but I found that I liked hosting that and doing that, but I found the humor thing to be a little more on my wavelength.
Sure.
So I eventually turned and kept turning it into this guy that's the host that hears voices that, that's just out there, and it worked.
We moved from the station and that format to across the street, where now, let's see, I guess it's Saint's Pantry now, the old J.C. Penney building.
Right. It was what was it? It was that, and it was something
Habitat
else.
for Humanity.
That's what it was. Yeah, one of the Johnson brothers was turning it into a recording studio.
He wanted it to be
venue.
like a venue recording studio, and it made sense. We did a couple shows from there.
Yeah.
And that was then when the band would come in full setup.
Right.
And record that.
Right. And then we were also doing, what happened is that from KMAS, Bruce had a recording studio. So we moved to the recording studio, which was elbow room. I could sit out on the main floor with the bands or the single act or the duo or the trio or whatever they were. And we could do an hour show and record it. And Bruce could put a little bit of spin of nice on it.
Yeah.
And then we'd leave a CD for you. It's like Pony Express.
I'll come pick up the CD sometime.
And then they would air the following week.
So, and now that studio, I don't know if you've been over there.
No,
but
there's nothing there.
There's nothing there anymore. No. It was behind where Artistry and Flowers is in Tumwater, in near Safeway and the Starbucks. There used to be like a blue 2-story house there. That's gone, and now there's apartments.
Yeah,
so that has completely changed. Right. Where did the Bread for Jam CD come from?
Okay, so we're at the Robin Hood, and this guy called Tom Wilson, who was one of the players that came out. A lot of people didn't like Tom, for some reason. I did, and the main reason I did because he was funny. And so that was my main reason. I would defend him at times. But he had this wild idea of let's do a CD, and let's call it bread for jam, okay, and you'll be the poster boy.
Sure.
So I dressed like Robin Hood with a sword and everything.
Yeah, I remember
I'm
that.
on the cover. We took the pictures right out here. Had a whole bunch of pictures. I even had the Zorro mask on for one of them, and was on some little bridge that isn't here anymore with a knife and a sword. Anyway, we didn't use that one, but
I wonder where that photo's ever around anymore.
oh God, I don't know. I lost a bunch of stuff, and that was a really cool photo. I really liked it. But anyway, so Tom had a little recording studio at his place. So what we did is we got all these different musicians together, did a copyright on songs, and went to Tom's and played one song. We put, I don't remember how many, several musicians were on the record. Record, and we sold it all throughout the area here and Hoodsport, wherever. And we ended up giving a check to, we had one of the Hoodsport Food Bank people down here, one of the main people from, I can't remember her name right now. Anyway, to receive the check, and it was over $2,000, I think.
Wow, yeah.
So it felt pretty good. And then we kept in contact with them. It come Easter or something, and there might have been $500 in the account or something. So okay, let's cut a check and give them an Easter present or whatever.
That's cool.
So it was very rewarding to be able to take it and use it. And Tom was a big piece of that, initiating that.
Huh.
So when we had the show, I think he was the second guest. So what we decided, because people didn't like him, to throw him off the show. So the second one at KMAS, we threw Tom Wilson off the show.
He was there. He was a co-host or something.
Yeah, something. He was coming in the door, and it was like, Tom, we can't have you here. Get out of here.
Too much
fire
code.
We had some screaming and some door slamming and everything, and get out of here.
Yeah.
You don't meet requirements here. So whatever. It was great.
We ended up doing 150 songwriter stages.
Yeah. And also there was the Skoke, the Lucky Dog.
Yeah.
That wasn't the same thing. That was just Dale and I, hosts,
trying to do it live.
Yeah, just doing a little live bit. We had a little comedy act. Dale would get up and they introduced me, and then I pretend like we were at a hydroplane race, and we're Dick Curtis and Pat O'Day of KMA, or of KJR.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then he'd like, "What are you talking about?" Anyway, and then we go up and say goodnight. So it was just hosting, these people, and then they would have their CD on the show.
Yeah.
And one of them was, what's her name? Angel of the Morning, Marilee Rush. It wasn't her, but it was her ex. I remember his name, something Rush. Anyway, but he was up from L.A. and he did a show.
Oh, okay.
There. So we played him, and Marilee came to the show. So I got to meet the Angel of the Morning. That was a huge hit.
Sure. Yeah.
So she was at the show, and I thought that was pretty cool.
And so then you move away, but now you're back here and playing again.
Yeah, I just, for everything just kind of was time to go. I ended up going to Palm Springs. Martin, the people that used to own this place, the Woodcocks,
right?
They used to own it. They sold it, and I think and then it went one more time, and then to Darren. But at any rate, Martin used to have an espresso stand across the street, so that was the big hangout.
Yeah, okay.
It was funny, and then we'd, end up at his place and after work and all that. But, he moved to Palm Springs, and he was always asking me to come down there. So I ended up down there eventually. I couldn't come, and then finally it was time I could.
Uh-huh.
So I went down there. I lived on his 5 acres out in the desert and worked for him building stuff. Here we go with that again, And
he knew you could do it.
Huh?
He knew you could do it.
Yeah. All the stuff I'd done here, it was just beyond belief. And then down there, I'm out in the desert with a wheelbarrow full of rocks and digging in posts for stuff and, just all kinds of stuff. But then I got in a rock band down there, and there was this main place down there called the Palm Springs Roadhouse. And long story short, anyway, I ended up with a guitar player, a bass player, and a drummer, and we were doing 60s and early 70s stuff.
Oh, fun.
And I had the harmonies and everything. So we did some stuff down there, and I did some stuff in Palm Desert down there at this other place, and then this other club down there. So, yeah, it was all that. But then all that kind of came rolling down, and it was time to move on from Martin's down there after a long time there. And I ended up in Mexico, for almost 3 years.
Yikes.
And out in the Baja, in San Jose de Cabo.
Uh-huh.
And they eventually knew who I was. You know,
I was kind of repeated the.
Yeah, I wasn't building anything
songwriters.
for anybody, but I was the rock and roll guy.
Yeah.
The gringo that's the rock and roll guy, you know. And so I did solo acts down there at different places and stuff, and it was a trip.
Sure.
And then it was just time. It's like almost 3 years. I was fading farther and farther and farther away. It was like I don't even know the United States. I don't even care anymore. I don't know. You know, where's next? You know. So I had to come back to my senses a little bit. I was actually scared to come back, kind of, because it was like I got so far away.
Right.
And everything was, you know, I never understood anybody because would you learn the language? No, I didn't, you know. Oh, I said it's too fast. I don't understand it, you know, so I'm not going to try to learn it. But it didn't matter anyway because I had all these friends anyway, and some of them spoke English, some of them didn't. I had some French friends, and you know, Italian producer that we did a couple of shows. We did stuff called La Festa where I played at, and it was something again where you go into a open air club, club open air. They had some trippy places down there, and you play there, and you have vendors, and you have stuff, you know. And he was trying to sell it to the club, but then the club was pulling back on it, and they didn't, you know, all that business stuff. That didn't work. But established a relationship with him, so we did a little film down there. They had a DeLorean, a wrecked one there.
Okay.
So I was a video game that stole the DeLorean, so to speak, and came to Earth and wanted to be human. And I wrote the soundtrack for it. I ran my guitar backwards like the Beatles and everything. We did a soundtrack. And I guess we won something in the San Francisco thing.
Wow, congratulations.
But I don't know what it was. But it wasn't enough to actually get money to do a movie, you know. That's
Right.
what he was pushing for.
Uh-huh.
So he was a trip. He was an Italian producer as well as a guy that his straight job was doing video work and all that. But he'd go to Egypt. He'd go all over the world, you know, with this job. But he really wanted to do independent film. So we were going to do another one. He gave me another script and stuff. And then it got down to where I was leaving and all that. So I came back last September. I flew out of Mexico on 9/11 going, you know, I don't know.
But this was just a few years ago.
This was like several months ago.
Sure.
But yeah, flying out on the date of 9/11, though, was just a little freaky. But I figured I'm flying out of Mexico. I'm not flying in.
Right.
I'm flying out. I don't think anybody's going to do anything.
Here to Seattle. So now you're back here. You're playing in Tacoma. You're playing a little down here, or what?
Yes, I met up. I hadn't done that much in Tacoma at first. I was just trying to figure out Tacoma, you know, and that takes some figuring. But at any rate, I started living with, you know, hanging out, living with my daughter and her husband for a while.
Okay.
And, that's cool for a while. And it was like, well, okay, my daughter and I are going to do something together, you know. So there was this one club called the New Frontier Lounge, and it's on the corner down by the Tacoma Dome down there.
Sure.
And it's a really cool bar with a big stage and, you know, built-in sound system and lights and stuff, you know. So we ended up starting to do these shows called Woodstock: A State of Mind with vendors, and you know, and I ended up linking up with my flute player again, who used to come to jams at the Robin Hood and the Alderbrook, you know, just come and jam with me, and we got serious and started putting some stuff together. So we got a pretty dynamic act with some hard driving acoustic guitar, me singing, and him playing flute or harmonica.
Why is the flute so popular?
You know, I don't know.
There's another Pirate Nate's around here. He's a flautist. And
yeah.
People love it.
Well,
I mean, I like the sound, but it just seems like
I guess you know,
'cause it's different than the guitar.
Down through the ages, people did wind instruments.
Yeah.
You know,
Pan flute.
the flutes, and then the bagpipes. You know,
Oh,
watch
right.
out, the Scottish are coming. You know, scare the hell out of everybody with the, you know, in the war with the pipes. You know, it's like, gee, we got to get out of here. Come the Scots. But I mean, it's just been this wind instrument thing. You know. But then, you know, the lutes were big, you know, and all that.
Yeah,
the strings and all that. So
maybe it's something that's in our collective DNA.
Probably. It just, we hit it off, and it's magical playing with it. We don't even have to practice, you know. We can jam out, and it's cool. But to practice and getting like a lot of my original songs and other stuff
Yeah.
down. It's just good. So we do covers. I mean, we're doing a lot of Dylan
Okay.
with flute, Dylan with harmonica, Dylan with flute.
And what's the response like?
Well, it got us the Port Townsend Boat Show,
Okay.
the Wooden Boat Show, which is a pretty big event, And he just had something on his phone. He just played a few minutes, seconds of it. And oh yeah, you're like, oh my, yeah, yes.
Oh, and they signed you.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So we're doing that, and then I'm gonna, under the umbrella of the Woodstock Estate of Mind, I'm still gonna be doing shows different places as time goes on. We're pulling out of the New Frontier. This will be our last show on August 24th there. We're going to pull out because in Tacoma it's just by itself down there by the dome. It's not in a good area, and the parking's kind of limited, and it's just.
Do you stay in the 60s and 70s for your music, or are you going to do anything 80s, 90s, even newer?
No 90s. I might be 80s. I do a lot of Moody Blues.
Okay.
So it's the Moody Blues, Byrds, Dylan, Donovan.
What keeps you going on music? I mean, you've been doing it for so long.
As soon as I play, it's beautiful again.
Yeah.
Especially with him, it's like a breath of fresh air because I give him the solos, I give him whatever, so he just go off on his flute and it's like a Jethro Tull kind of thing.
Sure.
Kind of going that. And I'm just driving hard on the acoustic and singing, and we if we had a band, or a band depending on where we were playing, if I had a band, it would be a violin player to go with it, or a cello.
Wow.
Okay, I'd be going to that, or acoustic percussion drums, where you have all this acoustic drum, not regular.
Yeah.
Acoustic hand drum stuff going with cymbals and chimes and all this other stuff. So it's not fully Celtic, but it's on the edges.
Yeah.
Just on the edges.
Again, I think a lot of people have an innate understanding and appreciation of that kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
It's again been around for a long
the
time.
60s and 70s, music was pretty charming anyway, and playing it for anybody, you don't find too many people that are playing it. Number one, and number two, I mean, you got classic rock bands, but a lot of the classic rock bands, it's not like it was.
Sure.
It's just, if you're going to play it with some feel, or don't play it, And but this is unique. So every time I play with him, I get inspired. We inspire each other.
And you've been around now. I mean, if I think back to just even the Songwriter Stage on the radio, you've been around in the periphery of a lot of bands. You know a lot of bands.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know name bands, the Kinks, the Byrds. Sky Saxon and the Seeds and I used to play together. We opened for the the Jefferson Airplane in a biker bar in Renton a long time ago.
Okay.
So him and I used to play. He's dead now, but he was a trippy guy. And the Seeds got way up, and then they kind of came down quick. But they were up there for a while, all the people that opened for him, and just, stories he had were amazing.
Northwest has had a lot of big bands.
The Northwest, especially in my day,
yeah,
we were right on it. We were right on it. If my band would have stayed together another year, we would have, or even less, because I was already writing original songs, and some of them sounded a little kinky, like the Kinks. It would have went. It just would have went. But we broke up.
Yeah.
And then I chased the San Francisco scene more as an observer, Haight-Ashbury and all that. And it was a trip. But I didn't go down there for necessarily the music, because I'd already been playing in band and already doing a TV show and all that. I was just taking a kind of a vacation. And I was 19, and it was like, go down here and just check out.
See what it's up.
Yeah, and there was a lot. There was a lot going on, but it wasn't necessarily the music thing. And then eventually I ended up in L.A., doing the L.A. trip and going to Bird sessions. And it was a pretty cool trip, going to the sessions at Columbia and watching the Byrds record.
Well, it's fascinating, too, because when we met, it was early in my radio career, and you were already well established around here and known, and so then kind of to see your interactions with all these people that you were able to get every week to come in.
Right.
And there wasn't a lot of repeats. I mean, we had a
No.
lot of new one-timers come through the old station for those shows. I wish we had more of those. I think there's some online. I'll put links to those as well.
Yeah.
And then earlier you referenced Bonnie Guitar. Dale interviewed her once.
Oh yeah. Well, she
If-
was actually across the street
Yeah,
one day.
yeah. She
when
was
when
at
she was
the-
already old.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, really old, and
When-
she was doing some recording.
Yeah,
over
when
there,
Johnson
you know?
was doing his studio
Yeah.
there. I think I still have that link. I'll try to
Wow.
link that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, she had a big hit. Her big hit was Dark Moon. It was in the, I don't know, 50s or 40s or something, but she goes way back.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But she was big time lady, and really cool. She's a cool lady, and her daughter was cool.
Well, you
Yeah.
always, whenever I see you, I just have great memories of doing Songwriter Stage.
Oh,
and
so that was so fun.
it's nice that you're still doing it and playing around here. And
Oh, yeah.
some of those days where it was in the studio tight,
Yeah.
it's getting hot,
Yeah.
bands,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then the bigger rooms was
Yeah.
a lot of fun. We
Yeah.
met a lot of fun people through that.
Oh yeah, it was cool. I really enjoyed it, and like I say, now I've got some other thing with the Woodstock State of Mind deal. I want that umbrella, and just feeling out stuff. I haven't really found the place in Tacoma. I thought I did with the New Frontier, but we've done 4 shows there, or we will have done 4 shows
Yeah.
there, and you don't want to stagnate. And keep trying. You want to.
You're always pushing forward.
Yeah, find another venues where you get more support of the stores and different people around you, where you can actually do something. Which worked here. At the one time. Now here, I'm more like a stranger in a strange land.
Sure.
Here, it's really odd.
Because you've been gone enough that the scene has changed.
It's almost like it's like a couple 100 years ago. Or something.
You might
It's
need
like
to
I'm
pull.
a ghost.
You might need to pull that Zorro mask and sword out again to remind people.
I would like to.
Oh yeah, Robert. Now I recognize you.
That was great. I just watched both Zorros this week, actually, with Antonio Banderas, and then I also watched Zorro with Tyrone Power, who I knew his son.
Oh wow.
I met his son in Palm Springs,
Man.
and he looks just like him. And this place we used to go. Chris Bennett, she's an artist down there. Plays pop songs and show tunes, and she's a real pro. Goes to Germany and comes back, and all that stuff. Anyway, she played on my record, Still Following the Tambourine Man, and she did the singing on the background of that, and she did the love song in Midnight Express.
Okay.
So
Wow.
prominent lady. An honor to have her on my record.
Well, I'm gonna keep following along, and whenever you have shows in the South Sound area, let me know, and I'll make sure people know about them. But we're
Yeah.
kind of here where it all kicked off.
Oh, yeah,
on the
lots of
shores
it.
of the creek at the Robin Hood.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Pretty
definitely.
cool.
Yeah, the whole thing, and that gets all back to Robin Hood, because Don Beckman in the 30s.
Yeah.
He's the guy that built this. He was the set director for Errol Flynn.
It's wild.
And
Such
I
a
met,
place.
and I met in Palm Springs. I met this lady who said her dad was the stuntman for Errol Flynn.
Oh,
So I mean, it's just
Small world.
It's a non-stop Hollywood movie show, like the
Yeah.
Kinks song is, and it. Although me, anymore, I don't like people say, "Hey, come to this open mic." I said, "No, I'm not interested." I hate to be that guy, but I'm not. I've done so much of it.
sure.
That I'm not interested in open mics. I'm not interested in. I'm interested in places to play for me, but but not to go and just, hey, go play us a song. No, thanks.
Well, maybe you'll get back to that point sometime. And if
Yeah.
you do, let me know, and I'll
Yeah.
let everybody know. Robert Poole here.
Yeah.
Kind of a fun conversation catching up with him. It's always fun. It kind of pop up out of the woodwork, and I go, oh man, there's Robert. I would send Dale a photo, and he go, oh, there's Robert, and so it's pretty cool. Well, yeah. Thanks for sitting with me.
Yeah, no, this was fun. I enjoyed doing this. It's kind of like a history of what was going on. I mean, they did that songwriters thing back here not too long
Yeah,
ago.
the Peace Love Union.
And it was so funny as I put the roof up over there,
Sure.
the white
You can
white
go, I
tent.
did that.
Yeah, I did that.
put that
I
up,
did
I
that.
put that
yeah.
up.
I mean, it's insane. It's almost haunting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like all the stuff and the music and the people and it's beyond me. But that's just the way it is. It's a trip.
Robert Poole, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.